Gotta say, you captured your good side.
You know what Tomb Raider is. Chances are you've played one of Lara Croft's many adventures, or at least one of the cinematic action adventures that her original 1996 expedition inspired, whether that be the Uncharted, Horizon, or Star Wars Jedi series. But now it's time to go all the way back, as Legacy of Atlantis takes us full circle in a reimagining of the story that kick-started an entire genre. We recently had the opportunity to play through its short water puzzle, cartwheel and dinosaur shootout filled demo, which certainly felt familiar, albeit with a gorgeous new lick of paint and more modern tweaks sprinkled in.
This mechanism looks like the waterfall regulator, but clearly it's not working.
It was fun, and we were left intrigued to see how deep this merging of an old story told using a new box of tricks will go when the full game releases next February. 30 years is a long time, especially in the rapidly evolving world of video games. And if you've picked up a controller and attempted to play the original Tomb Raider recently, nothing emphasises that like how Lara Croft controls. Stiff and heavy, with your thumbs the victim of her sluggish turning circle, Lara's manoeuvrability resembles that of a transatlantic ocean liner more than an enterprising Atlantis explorer. Thankfully, this remake, co-developed by the series' long-term custodian Crystal Dynamics and newcomer Flying Wild Hog, fixes this. This Lara is light on her feet, with a floaty jump more reminiscent of Princess Peach than Nathan Drake. It takes a little getting used to at first, especially if you've become accustomed to the adhesive-fingered approach that Naughty Dog injected into the action-adventure game, which was the foundation for Tomb Raider's most recent Survivor trilogy.
Stunning. We made it, Dad.
This Lara still clings onto some of the old school movement feel of the PS1 original, something that admittedly proved a bit of a struggle during the demo's early moments, but in time we found this freer feeling Lara enjoyable to control, even if her jumps did make us wonder if the Lost Valley in Peru had become some sort of zero-gravity zone. Ultimately, its more old-school influenced approach helps build into the idea that you're truly exploring an environment rather than clambering along a set path. The small area of jungle we were dropped into contained one of the classic cog and water puzzles that Lara has worked her way through dozens of times over the years. Using a full exploration suite of climbing, swimming and grappling around a miniature sandbox, we went in search of the missing machine components that would unlock the giant gate blocking Lara's progress. Helpful here was the brand new grapple gadget that can be fired out of Lara's wrist, Spider-Man style. These are age-old puzzles design-wise, but made modern by smart additions like this grapple. Tweaks such as these really display Legacy of Atlantis' desire to be more than just a remake, borrowing from the likes of Crystal Dynamics' more recent trilogy and how it approaches Lara's toolkit.
Decoration or spare part?
A further addition is the number of collectibles littered throughout the world and the ability to survey the environment in search of the secrets using Lara's scanner. From what we can tell, Legacy of Atlantis is still a largely linear adventure, but venturing off the main path will reward you with all sorts of treasures, whether they be documents that build out the lore of an ancient civilization, or objects that grant Lara extra skill points. Unfortunately, the skill tree menu was locked off to us in the demo, so we can't tell exactly how we'll be able to tweak her abilities, but its mere existence is again a sign of newfound depth. And that all makes sense, because although Legacy of Atlantis is a retelling of the British adventurer's first story, it's actually part of the same universe now as the prequel trilogy that ran between 2013 and 2018.
It's the only thing that makes sense to me now.
This isn't her first rodeo, and she boasts the skills to show for it. This is best displayed in combat, of which we got a tiny taste after stepping through the huge doorway opened up by the aforementioned cog-finding problem solving. It was on the other side that we were welcomed by a gang of hungry velociraptors, a far more vicious resident of Peru than Paddington Bear. That's probably for the best though, because the thought of unleashing multiple rounds into one of Britain's most adorable imports would have probably led to a lot of crying. Thankfully then, it was the job of one of Britain's most deadly exports to take on these prehistoric menaces instead, dodging, cartwheeling and backflipping out of the way of their deadly lunges. Get enough room between them and you'll be able to fire those iconic double pistols that handily come complete with unlimited ammo. The shooting felt snappy and responsive, but really came alive once another new skill up Lara's non-existent sleeves was introduced, The focus system. Look, we don't have that much footage, so I'm just going to show you all that again, right? Performing well-timed acrobatics during combat and evading enemies at the right time builds up the focus meter, filling up charges that can be used with a quick press of the right bumper. Upon doing so, she stylishly spins into the air and enters bullet time, allowing you to unload full magazines into enemies as they practically freeze in the line of fire. It's a great addition to the action, further bringing these classic fights into the modern age while giving Lara a welcome edge in encounters. We're intrigued to see if more powerful uses of these focus changes await deeper in the game, perhaps where they could be used in a similar way to how Sucker Punch's Ghost series grants you devastating attacks and abilities at the cost of using more than one circle of energy. Before we could experiment too much with Tomb Raider's own take on gun fu, a rude interruption was made as one of the series' most iconic moments took over the scene. Into the arena stepped a towering T-Rex, which made both Lara and her previous foes flee the scene with haste. We're having to use footage from Anniversary to illustrate this because we weren't given B-roll of the new T-Rex segment, but we can say the sequence has undergone a complete facelift, translating the primitive capabilities of the original PlayStation into something entirely more cinematic. Rather than a simple shooting affair, the scene now begins with a playable chase down a treacherous jungle pathway as Lara slides, swings, and clambers to escape its sharp-toothed maw. There's a great sense of peril in the cinematography and effective use of slow motion as Lara slides between the dinosaur's legs, mirrored by a great sense of muddled bewilderment and desperation in the voice of Alex Wilton Regan, the latest actor to pick up the dual pistols. And partway through this attempted escape is where our time with Legacy of Atlantis ended, as Lara plunged into a river, her rope bridge escape route destroyed by the T-Rex. This cliffhanger concluded a short but varied look at what this latest reboot of Tomb Raider has to offer, and so far it feels like all the necessary ingredients are there. At its core, the design attempts to blend the classic feel of Lara Croft's movement with a more modern approach to combat and exploration.
This figure they're worshipping, could it be Qualipeg?
What more could you ask for? We're looking forward to see how all that comes together when Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis arrives on February 12th, 2027 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Nintendo Switch too. You could play it in the Peruvian jungles, imagine that. For more on Tomb Raider, why not check out our exclusive behind the scenes clip, and for everything else Lara Croft, stick with IGN.
I can only trust you with this.